All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Pitch Pod. I'm your host, Jeff Stebbins. Joining alongside me today is Joe Janner. Joe, how are you doing?
Fine, Jeff. Good to be back on the pitch pod with an opportunity to talk about these upcoming matches. I know you're going to present and share with our listeners exactly what that is, but nonetheless, excited to be here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a whole lot of stuff happening in the soccer football world. Lots of things to discuss, but what Joe and myself chose to focus on today, Champions League, right? You got Inter Milan going against Arsenal, two heavy hitters, heavyweights going at it back and forth. I mean, Inter Serie A team, they won the Serie A last year. They're always in the Champions League mix, going, if not in the final, close to the final in the last several years. Arsenal on the other side, they've been contending in the previous years with the EPL and that title, and they always, are in the Champions League mix as well. Maybe not with as much success as Inter, but still they're there and they're competing, trying to do their best. So it should be a good contest. But Joe, what are some initial thoughts from you going into this right off the bat?
I think it's important to remind everybody that is following along about the different format and where and how that influences the importance of a match such as this, whereas Inter sitting seventh on the table with 7 points and Arsenal also with 7 points, but in ninth based on goal differential, how these matchups lend themselves to providing, I think, some different level of interaction from people looking and going, well, this match could have more value or could help determine where these guys end up finishing. So this match in particular, with them being level on points, I think is an important match for both of them. Provides a great opportunity to show contrasting styles. I think that's something that we're going to see in this. You're also going to, again, the draw of the Champions League is that you have two top European football clubs with the opportunity to play each other in a competitive, meaningful match.
Yeah. And, it's early on relatively in their respective leagues, but both of these teams who usually are at the top of the tables in their respective leagues, Serie A and the EPL, both of them are, I don't want to say they're struggling because they're still doing well and in the top five for sure. But, you would think at this point in the season, I think we're match day 10, 11 roughly in for both leagues in that area. You would expect to see them kind of closer to that top of the table for their respective leagues. And so I'm looking forward to seeing this matchup because it's two teams that, again, I don't want to say they're struggling. It's match day 11 relatively, and there's a long ways to go to the end of the season. But I feel like they're both kind of at the same level right now with their quality of play and where they're at in the season. So this could be a big momentum shifter for either squad and how they continue in the UCL, Joe. What are your thoughts on that?
I like that idea. I like the idea that this match in particular could help them, whether it be solidifying their identity, their approach, what they're trying to do. Arsenal, I'll say, I've seen more from them within the EPL. I mean, they had some setbacks with some personnel issues, both from injury, but also a few matches ago with red card and not maybe being able to. And I'm not going to give Arteta an excuse, because that's a big squad, a lot of quality players. But it's been underwhelming in terms of the performance and in terms of the results and where they've been at it. So, yeah, I think if I were the manager, I would make sure that there's revenue, a certain level of importance that's put onto this squad and how they approach this game to go after this, because it could be just that. It could be an opportunity for them to gain some momentum, have a clear understanding. It's still early, like you said, but it's at that time we want to start putting some things into place that are going to lend themselves to helping them success over the rest of this campaign. Not only Champions League, but in the respective domestic league. So I think you hit it nail right on the head there.
Yeah, which is going to make for a good contest. And, Inter, I think people are familiar enough with them, and their Martinez is obviously a dynamic striker, the Argentinian DeMarco, very talented player. So they have some offensive threats. And I think maybe that's what's kind of holding Arsenal back right now is outside of Saka, who just came back from injury, you're not getting a whole lot of productivity up top. And, Martinelli had some flashes of quality play, but kind of reverted back to his old play of turning it over too often. And so that midfield without Odegaard, you kind of see a big gap that's, not being filled, whether it's creativity or just being that team leader. You're missing a quality player there and a piece that's hard to fill while he's absent. So would you say that's the big reason for Arsenal's kind of current slump, is just missing such a quality midfielder and having trouble filling that gap?
Sure, I would briefly touch on that idea that, yes, in the role that he played and has played over the course of the last few years, I think that's a part of it. But what you did mention, what I'm thinking as you're saying that, I want to address this. What's been ongoing for me is the inability for Arsenal as a club to go out and get a top tier striker, to get that solid number 9. Like, again, I know I'm looking November here. You're thinking January transfer. I mean, as of recent times, the January transfer has a lot less impact in terms of people being able to be moved at that time, picking up that level or that type of player to come in and influence the club's trajectory over a course of a season. But I'd love to be a fly on the wall of the boardroom. I'd love to understand what these conversations are between Arteta and his coaching staff, how that communication internally goes within the club as far as what's their plan. Like, what do they have in place to go and get that particular player that they know that they're now probably looking at to the right, looking to the left at these other clubs that are going and getting these top tier, have over the last few years got these top tier strikers, these solid number 9s that they could benefit from in the system they play. And so that for me is what I'd be looking at, is how are they going to, yes, obviously at any level, you have to make the most of what you have to work with. You're going to have injuries. You're going to have situations where players are out for whatever. How do you then move on? How do you then look at this, not only the short term, but the long term of what they're doing? I think that's where, to me, Arsenal at times they switch. Is it the near term? Is it the far? Where are we with finding the appropriate measures and plan in place to get this type of player into the system? Otherwise, I'll say it, it's going to continue to be that, just not enough.
Right.
Second place.
Right. And you hate to throw anyone under the bus, but
sure,
Jesus isn't getting the job done up top, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's from a lack of effort, but when you just look at the stats, at the end of the day, certain players get it done, certain players don't. And at this point, it looks like he's struggling with converting. And that puts a lot of load on Saka's shoulders, which is a lot for any player to take on. So you can understand why the slump is there. If you're a Gunners fan, hopefully they climb out of it, right? Hopefully Odegaard returns sooner than what's expected, because it's my understanding that it's a ligament injury and he's probably not really in top form right now. And that's going to take a while to get back into top form and get in shape. But regardless, hopefully they do something managerial or whatnot so that they have a chance to finish the season on a strong note. But on that note, Joe, I think I'm ready. Is there anything we're forgetting? Are we leaving anything on the table here? I think we kind of laid it out, 2 quality clubs that are temporarily in a slump, but I think I'm ready for my prediction if you are.
Let's get into it. Let's see what you got. Or is that me?
And as I say that, I'm going to throw it back your way.
Okay. Jeff, I think that some of what you have to consider, and maybe we didn't talk about this aspect, but I am going to bring it up. Again, it's an English club traveling to Italy in the middle of the week after having a tough league competition at the weekend, and then having to get back and and what does the training look like that goes into it? I think it puts Arsenal at a slight disadvantage, as it does any of these clubs in these situations. But with what we've said and what we know needs to take place, I think you're going to get a good performance. And I think in this case, I don't know if I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it, that going in there and getting a draw would probably be a respectable result in this instance. I mean, yes, you want to win it. I think it's necessary. You're going to go for it. But if you go there, come out with a draw, which is what I'm saying, what I predict, 1-1 for this upcoming match.
Yeah, if Arsenal can walk in there and come away with a draw, that's going to be fine for them. They'll accept that. They'll be all right with that. I agree. When you look at things like turnaround, rest, who's available, who's healthy on each squad, where are the games being played, this is This is going to be a close one, I have a feeling. And the margin, I do think we'll see a winner in this one. But I think you're right. I think the margin is going to be pretty slim on this. And so I'm going to go with the home team playing in Italy, San Siro. We're going to keep that margin tight, though. I'm going to have Inter Milan. I'm going to have them winning this one 1-0 against Arsenal. So I think you're right. I think it's going to be really close, a nail biter, but I have a feeling that they're going to pull it off because they have quality offensive players that can get the job done.
Definitely looking forward to it. Jeff, thank you for having me on the show. Looking forward to the next time we'll catch up. This has been fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching the Pitch Pod. Hopefully you get a chance to watch this upcoming match. And as always, please like and subscribe. And until next time.